Hello, and welcome to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's Kids Club at Home. My name is Kevin, and I'm really excited that you're joining us today. In today's activity, we are going to be drawing and writing about constellations in fun and interesting ways. And I enjoy doing this because the first part, drawing, lets me think creatively about what it is I might want to show. And the second part, writing, challenges me to come up with a story that goes with what I've created in the drawing. Now, caregivers, the writing process is going to involve brainstorming, which is an important part of pre-writing. It allows kids to generate ideas about a topic in a way that is free of judgment and right or wrong thinking, and ultimately leads to much more focused, clear, and stress-free writing down the road. So for today's icebreaker, I want to know what's a really cool or interesting or neat thing that you've seen when you've looked up. Now, I was going for a walk recently, and I looked up into a tree that I was approaching, and the tree was full of birds, and they were all making a total racket. They were chirping and twittering, the whole deal. And then a few moments later, as if someone turned them off, they all stopped making a racket, and it was completely quiet. And then a few moments later after that, they all started again at the exact same time. It was really strange, but also super interesting, and I'm really curious how that happened. What about you? What's a cool thing that you've seen when you've looked up? So the first part of today's activity involves creating your own constellation. Now, what is a constellation, you might ask? A constellation is a group of stars that when you look at them just right, they seem to form a shape or a design or a pattern when viewed from down here on Earth. Now, you might know some constellations already. There's some pretty famous ones like Orion the Hunter, or the Big Dipper, which is actually a part of a big bear, or Taurus the Bull. But it's not just here in the United States that we see and name constellations. It's all over the world, all different cultures, and really throughout all of time. It's really cool that other people in different parts of the world have looked up at the same sky we look at and have seen constellations of their own. Sometimes they're similar and sometimes they're different. And often the constellations have stories that go with them. We'll get to that part of it later. So what about you? Have you ever looked up at the sky and noticed stars and maybe start to see some patterns or shapes that they form? Or it doesn't have to be looking up at the sky and stars. Have you ever gone for a walk around your neighborhood and seen a house that looks kind of like a face, or a cloud that looks like an animal? There are patterns and designs and resemblances all over the place if you look for them. So for today's activity, you're only going to need a few simple materials. First, as always, you'll need something to write on. And also, as always, I don't even have a piece of paper. I have yet another folder. And this will actually work just great. You'll also need something to write with. Crayons, markers, pencils, whatever you have around is fine. And step one is to make a whole bunch of dots on your piece of paper with whatever writing utensil you choose. Just a whole bunch of dots. And those are going to be your stars in the sky. Then you're going to connect your dots in a way that creates your own constellation. Something that they resemble, an animal, a person, a place, a thing, whatever it is. I'm going to start making my dots now, and I'll connect them, and I'll show you what I've come up with in just a moment. So you saw me add my stars to my night sky, and here's what I came up with as my constellation in the end. Meet Penny the seal. The seal is right here in the middle, in case you couldn't tell. So I started up here with the nose and went down its chest and its front flippers, and then here's its smooth back and down to its back flippers. I'm not really a seal expert, but I looked at the dots in the middle, the stars in the middle, I should say, and thought, yeah, that could be a seal. And then I named it. And I used the stars to write the name, but you don't have to do that. That was just kind of a fun touch. Penny the seal. The seal on the sky. So what about you? What constellation did you come up with, and why did you decide to do it that way? And if you had to do it again, what would you do differently? I think about how would it be different if there were more stars in the sky, or maybe even fewer? Would that be harder? Let us know what you did in the comments. And now, as I said earlier, most constellations have really interesting stories that go with them, and I want to write something to go with Penny the seal as well. But I'm not sure I want to write a whole story. Maybe a poem? A fun rhyme? Like I said, I'm not sure. So I'm going to do something called brainstorming. I'm going to think of a seal and write down a whole bunch of words that come to mind when I think of seals. And then I'm going to look at those words and maybe I'll get an idea about what to write from looking at all those words related to seals. And you can do the same thing for your writing. Think about the constellation you made and brainstorm your own ideas. Come up with a whole list of words about your pattern or resemblance or shape, and then see if that inspires you towards a particular kind of writing. So I'm going to get started on my brainstorming now, and I'll show you what I come up with before I do my actual writing. So here are a whole bunch of words that I wrote down that came to mind when I thought of seals. And I'm hoping that by looking at this list of words, it'll give me an idea of what I can write about to go with my constellation. Here's a closer look at them, and you can even pause it if you want to inspect it closely. So when I looked at this list more closely, I noticed, of course, a whole bunch of really great words, but I really noticed a whole lot of words that start with the letter S and the sound S, and that gave me an idea. I think I want to write a really short story, just a few lines, that uses the sound S a lot, especially at the beginning of words. And when that happens, the same sound at the beginning of lots of words, right in a row or close together, that's called alliteration. Happy horse, muddy monster, burping beagle. You can have a lot of fun with it, as you can tell. And I want to write a story about this seal that uses a lot of S words, especially at the beginning. Now, caregivers, alliteration is just one way of practicing and developing phonological awareness skills. And phonological awareness skills are critical in early literacy development, and solid phonological awareness skills really help young children become strong readers and writers. So what about you? If you brainstormed about your constellation, how did that go? Did you come up with some interesting ideas for your piece of writing? I'm going to get started on mine now, and I think I'm going to do it on the back of my folder so we can have the seal on the front and my story on the back. So I've finished my short story about my seal constellation, and as you'll see, I wrote it inside the folder instead of on the back. I thought that made a lot more sense. So I'll read you the story, and you can look and listen and maybe count the number of words or times you hear the S sound at the beginning of words. Here's the whole thing. It's not really that long. Have a listen. A seal and its siblings squirmed into the sea, where its sleek skin sent it swimming. It sang with scallops and played soccer with salmon. Sleepy, it slumbers in the sky for all to see. Now, I had a lot of fun coming up with all those words that started with the S sound. Some of them were on my brainstorming list and some of them weren't. So what about you? What kind of writing did you decide to do? And what story did it tell about your constellation? Did you experiment with a little bit of alliteration like I did? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed today's activity and are interested in learning more about stars and constellations or astronomy in general, check out Rocket Says Look Up, a picture book by Nathan Bryan. It's available on Overdrive or Libby, so once you check it out, it'll be there for you to read right away on your screen. You can also go on over to Hoopla and search Constellations in the search bar, and you'll see tons of amazing children's titles that have incredible information about the stars, constellations, and the stories behind them. And for even more immersion in this subject, you can go to the Buell Planetarium's website and find their resource list through the Carnegie Science Center's website. There's amazing things there too. The library itself offers more titles and resources related to stars, constellations, astronomy, and science in general. Just check out our STEM book lists for kids, and you'll find a wealth of options there for you. Or just reach out to us and we can put together some recommendations for you. Now, if you don't have a library card and would like one, you can sign up for one on our website, carnegielibrary.org, or you can give us a call at 412-622-3114, and a librarian will be there to help you out, answer your questions, whatever you need. Thanks for watching Kids Club at Home. We're really pleased that you joined us, and we miss you very much. Tag us at Carnegie Library and share with us what you made today. And don't forget to look out for grab-and-go activity kits at your neighborhood CLP locations. We miss you, and we're looking forward to creating together with you next time. Take care.